Good evening. I'm Tom Carson, President of the League of Women Voters of Glendale, Burbank, and I would like to welcome you to this forum. As we begin our evening of democracy in action, let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The League of Women Voters was started in 1920 after women won the right to vote. For 40 years, membership in the League has also been open to men. Our local organization here in Glendale was formed in 1940, so we're celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. We are strong supporters of the election process, and the League joins the City of Glendale in encouraging voters to not only vote themselves, but to reach out to their family members and friends to encourage them to vote as well. For the April 7th election, the deadline for registering to vote or changing your registration is Monday, March 23rd. The questions you will be hearing tonight are questions we have received from the public. We hope the candidates will find these questions to be challenging, enabling you, the voters, to make informed decisions. Tonight's candidate forum rules call for adherence to the terms of civil discourse by both candidates and the public. The hallmark of democracy is the willingness of all members of our community to treat each other with courtesy and respect, not just the people that we agree with. It is in that spirit that we are here this evening to engage in a vital part of our democratic process, a civilized discussion of the important issues that confront our community. So I want to thank all of the candidates and the audience here for being here. The League also wishes to thank the City of Glendale for once again providing voters with the opportunity to view the forum both here in person tonight and via rebroadcast. We are particularly grateful for the assistance of Tom Lorenz, the Director of Communications for the City of Glendale, for helping to conduct these forums. We have many members of our League here tonight to help this forum happen. Included are our audience greeters, Roberta Medford and Sheridan Wiseman, our question sorters, Chris Carson and Alyssa Homan, and our timekeepers, Mary Dixon and Di Rodriguez. And now I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening's forum, Rita Zwern. Rita is a longtime League member and with much experience in moderating forums.
Good evening and welcome. This forum is a live broadcast courtesy of GTV6. Rebroadcasts of the forum will replay on GTV6, Channel 6, on Charter Communications, or ATT Uverse Channel 99. You may also watch the forum on demand by going to the Jewel City, California YouTube channel. No reproduction or rebroadcast of this forum may be made without the prior written permission of the League of Women Voters and the City of Glendale. No digital or other forms of photography or recording are permitted in these chambers during this forum. The audience here tonight is invited to submit written questions for the candidates. Please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question, and one of the monitors will provide you with a card and pencil. Questions will be collected only during the opening statements and the first question. We would request that the audience turn off all cell phones and pagers, and that they refrain from applauding or otherwise disrupting the forum. If a candidate's supporters are disruptive during another candidate's remarks, the other candidate will be given additional time to compensate for the interruption. Additionally, attacks of a personal nature, including private matters, having no bearing on a candidate's public persona, or ability to perform the duties of the office in a competent, ethical manner, will not be tolerated. If a candidate makes a personal attack during his or her remarks, the time required for me to interrupt the candidate and remind him or her of the rule will be taken from his own speaking time. All candidates in the general city council election were invited to participate in this evening's forum. However, one candidate could not attend. I'd like to begin by introducing the participating candidates for the forum. They are, in ballot order, Councilmember Paula Devine, Evelyn Pagosian, Armin Eric Yasayan, Vartan Karpetian, Edith Fuentes, and Councilmember Dave Weaver. Each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for an opening statement. There will then be a total of 7 questions during the forum. The initial question will be addressed to all the candidates at the forum, beginning with candidate number 1. Although this is not our standard process, in light of the importance of this question and to ensure that all candidates have sufficient time to consider their response, we have previously provided this question to all of the candidates. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to respond to this question. Following this initial question, there will be 6 more questions, each question addressed to a separate candidate, beginning with candidate number 2 and ending back with candidate number 1. None of these questions have been provided to any of the candidates prior to the forum. For each question, the particular candidate will be allowed up to 2 minutes to respond. Following these questions, there will be an open round, where each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to address any of the forum questions not previously addressed to him or her. Following the question period, the candidates will be given 2 minutes each for a closing statement. During the opening and closing statements and the question responses, our timekeepers will alert candidates to the time remaining with signs of 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then a stop sign when they are out of time. We will now begin with opening statements. Ms. Devine, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I've been proud to serve on the City Council for the last 7 months. My background is in education, and I have a master's degree in education administration. My community service has been invaluable. I served 8 years on the Commission on the Status of Women. I am currently on the boards of Glendale Healthy Kids and the Glendale Police Foundation, and also the Glendale Adventist Medical Center Advisory Board. I am presently president of Seroptimist International of Glendale. My priorities remain the same: pedestrian and cycling safety, mitigation of traffic congestion, to preserve the integrity of our neighborhoods, and to advocate for responsible development, support small businesses all over our community. I want to work to make Glendale better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pagosian, your opening statement, please.
My name is Evelyn Pagosian, and I'm a 20-year-old resident of the city of Glendale. I love Glendale. I want to be its residents' voice in the government and to represent all your opinions. My background is of college dean with master's in organizational leadership, and currently I'm running my own business and pursuing second master's in business administration. I'm a mother of 2 children. My priorities for city are in a 3C plan, which is cost of running the city, cost of living in the city, and city's healthy infrastructure. My vision for Glendale is to become one of the prosperous, sustainable, and innovative cities in California. And to make it into reality, I have a plan to invite high-tech industries to Glendale to increase our city's revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Yasayan, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having us here. My name is Eric Yasayan. I'm a proud lifelong resident of Glendale, and I'm a product of our Glendale public school system. My background is in urban planning. I studied and I got my master's in planning because I believe in the power of local government to improve quality of life for people. And I've worked for a firm and we work on water, energy, transportation solutions, and it's my experience. I served on the Planning Commission for 5 years. I was the chair in 2013, and I co-founded a nonprofit 4 years ago to improve traffic safety in the city. And I'm running because I have this vision for Glendale, for a city to protect our hillsides and preserve the historic resources that we find so special, to maintain the quality of our parks and open space and build enough that are within walking distance of where most people live, and that we have a traffic safety record that we're proud of. And finally, that we have a budget that focuses more on what we want to achieve than what we want to cut. And that's the vision I will represent as your council member if you vote for me. And my name is Eric Yassine. I'm number 3 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garpetian, your opening statement, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vartan Garpetian. I'm a longtime resident, homeowner, as well as business owner in the city of Glendale. I live in the Verdugo Woodlands, and my business is in South Glendale. I'm married to my wife, Armina, for over 21 years. We have 3 amazing daughters, all of whom attend Glendale Public Schools. For over 10 years, I've proudly served on various city commissions, including Historic Preservation Commission. I'm also on Glendale Police Foundation, Glendale Adventist Medical Center's Advisory Board. As a current Historic Preservation Commissioner, I've been an avid and proactive advocate of preserving the integrity of Glendale's neighborhoods, and I've consistently voted for formation of historic districts in the city of Glendale. I look forward to discussing the issues that are affecting all of us, such as overdevelopment, preserving the integrity of our neighborhoods, traffic and public safety, GWP rate increases, and budgetary matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuentes, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting, and thank you very much for coming. I'm Edith Fuentes, candidate for Glendale City Council, and number 6 on your ballot. My decision to run was a very serious one. My heart, passion, and vision are in this race. It is my desire to continue helping and serving the city that I have worked and lived in for more than 20 years. I firmly believe that my strong educational background, architecture, Master of Public Administration, Planning and Development Studies, plus 35 years of hands-on government experience are assets I will bring to the City Council and will help me make good decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, your opening statement, please.
Well, it's been a great privilege to serve the city of Glendale and the people for the last 18 years. A city that I was born and raised in, raised my children in, and now seeing my grandchildren growing up here in Glendale. Between my 75-plus years in Glendale, where I probably saw every house and street in Glendale, and 18 years on council, in my mind, makes me the very best qualified person for the job. My knowledge and experience in the city between the 2 factors are greater than anybody else. I supported many positive things. You can go to my website and you'll see long dissertations, way more than I can discuss here. I'm ready to discuss the issues here tonight, and that's it.
Thank you. We'll now begin the question period. The first question is addressed to all the candidates. Measure D eliminates the requirement that city council members be elected on an at-large basis and requires that the city council propose elections by district to the voters. Do you support Measure D? If it is approved, what structure of city council elections would you support? Please explain. Ms. Devine, your 2-minute response, please.
Oh, okay. I supported placing Measure D on the ballot because I believe that the citizens have a right to vote and decide on this decision. However, I am personally opposed to districting for 2 reasons. The first reason is that having individual districts, in essence, will create little empires where each council member will be advocating for their own district and perhaps lose sight of the entire community. And I have not seen demographics, thank you, showing that there is an underrepresentation of any specific entity on our council. However, if the ballot measure does pass, I will do everything I can to make it work. To determine the structure and/or the process for districting, I would bring in an outside independent expert on districting. This person would guide us through the process and show us the best method for creating districts. The process must be fair, it must be transparent, and it must involve the entire community. In order to mitigate the possibility of council members advocating for only their districts, I would recommend electing a mayor at large. He or she would be the one person representing the entire city who would ensure the cooperation and the collaboration of all the council members in making decisions which affect our entire community. We are a small city, so I think 6 members plus an at-large mayor would be appropriate. However, without a demographic study, I cannot make an informed decision as to the choice. The important thing, and I reiterate, the important thing is that the process be smooth, that the process be transparent, fair, and that all residents and representatives are engaged.
Thank you. Ms. Pagosian, your 2-minute response, please.
My take on it would be 2 points. One, the positive would be that all demographics will be represented in our city council. But the problem with it is how we're going to divide our city. And what does it mean putting certain demographic in one area? That will lead into a problem, which will mean that certain ethnic groups, they have to live in this particular region so they can vote for their own candidate. And that's a problematic area to go into. We're just trying to separate our city into separate particles. If it's going to be 5 or 7, then we're going to have ethnic backgrounds living in separate parts of the city. The whole point is to unite, not to separate ourselves even further. And the best solution is to elect council members who will represent everybody's voice, not just certain demographic voice. So all the council members who are representing our city, they should be fair, they should represent who we are at large, not only a particular thing, which I think what we're doing until now.
Thank you. Mr. Yasayan, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. There's pros and cons of having districting, and the districts that we're going to be voting on this April is happening as a result of a lawsuit that's coming from people outside of the city, which isn't right. But there's good and bad examples of districting. If voters do choose to make it happen, then I will make sure that I'm elected to council to have an independent commission that uses the same model as other independent commissions have done for other districting, to come up with districts based on good demographics and most current demographics that doesn't benefit one group over another. And that we do have at least one at-large position. It could be a mayor or not. It could be a council member, 1 or 2 at-large positions who can represent the entire city, which could offset and balance the legitimate concerns that you may have a council member representing your area that won't really support what you want. So it's good to have an at-large position, and I will support that. So I support districting if we can make sure the independent commission can draw up districts that make sense and don't benefit one group over another, and that we have at least 1 or 2 at-large council members who represent the entire city. But I'm glad the voters have a chance to vote on this, and if they support it, then I'll make sure we get those things in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garpetian, your 2-minute response, please.
Yes, I am against any vague ballot measures. This ballot measure doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me what's going to happen after it's passed, if it passes. For over 100 years, our system worked, and there is no reason for it to change today. I hope the voters, I hope you will turn it down, because the only reason that this is on the ballot is because of a lawsuit by a group of greedy attorneys. And that's the only reason. And let's explain to people, explain to voters, what is districting all about? It has nothing to do with the geography of the city. Let's say I live in Verdugo Woodlands or North Glendale, and they say there is no representatives from North Glendale or there is no representatives from South Glendale. It has nothing to do with the geography of the city. It has to do with 3 protected ethnic groups: African Americans, Asian Americans, and Latinos. And for years, we had representatives, especially from Latino community, and we had no issues. The demographics in Glendale is different. You cannot carve up a district that has more, for example, Latinos than any other ethnic groups or anybody else. I think that will create, districting will create kingdom, districting will create corruption, and I'd rather have 5 members of the council representing me. Today, if I have an issue, I will go to 5 people. I have 5 options. But if it's districts, there's only 1. If this passes, I respect the voters' decision. If this passes, I am for 7 districts, and districts have to be drawn from north to south. So every council member will represent from top to the bottom. Not this city is divided already in many different ways. I don't want to be divided in Northwest Glendale, South Glendale, or North Glendale or East Glendale.
Thank
So
you.
North to south.
Ms. Fuentes, your 2-minute response,
Thank you.
please.
I oppose the measure, and I would like to keep the at-large system that we have in place. It's been there for centuries, and members representing my desires and the needs of the community is still working. The City Council 5 membership is still working, and I may not be able to be represented by 1 district representative or City Council. But if the measure should pass and be approved by the public, then we will have to start from scratch. I'll say, let's form committees to look into districting. We will have community members that may have some knowledge about districting, experts that will guide us and sail us through the process. And let's learn from other cities who currently have districting that are working well. We should be able to find out from them what they went through, what are the pros and cons they have, and at the same time, find out what's working best. We don't have to reinvent anything if something is working well. I think because of the size of Glendale, 7 districts would be much better instead of 5. And I agree, let's go north, south, east, west, and make sure that we are fully represented at City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, your 2-minute response, please.
Well, council got whiffed of such a problem when the school board and the board of trustees of the college started talking about districts. The council hired a consultant, experienced consultant, who came in and told us, you better look out. If you lose, you're going to have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit on your hands. So after many hours of conversation with the consultant and council asking a lot of questions, we decided we had no choice but to put it on the agenda, on the ballot for people to vote on. I hope everybody votes it down. We don't need it. It's not broken. The city is not broken with the way we are, so why create a mess? But it's on there now, and the thing to do next, in my view, if it passes, is we get people to apply. Anybody could apply that would like to be on a committee to draw the district boundaries. I don't want it political. So, okay, you want to draw the boundaries, you get on a list. Have council or some group sort the list and decide which ones are the most qualified to do that. Now, I don't know yet how that would be set out. But once done, then put all the names into a hat and do a lottery draw and pull out the names. That way, there's no way it's going to be political. And let them draw it up. And as you know, you can draw district boundaries any which way you want. So you got to get out of the hand of every politician available and let the people of this city do the district drawing if we ever come to that. But please, vote it down. Just get rid of it.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Bogosian. There continues to be very significant housing development in downtown Glendale. Do you believe that Glendale's infrastructure in areas like transportation and parking can handle the expected increase in demand? Please explain. Ms. Bogosian, your 2-minute response, please.
If we continue moving in a direction that we're moving without changing anything, probably we're not going to be able to handle it because currently we're already overcrowded and facing traffic and parking issues. There are solutions, and solutions are not only one, but there are several components that need to be changed and restructured in the city to overcome these issues. As research shows, if we even move 10% of traffic to a different direction, we will eliminate that additional stress that's going to be on the streets. Some of the solutions would be to increase available parking in the outskirts of the city, and have charter buses moving people in and out of city. Encouraging people to use public transportation because our buses run on clean gas and it's sustainable and ecologically friendly. Encourage people to walk. If you just need to go somewhere which is very close to you, don't take the car. And we need to be aware of it. One of my initiatives would be to encourage public to walk with me as a council member if you'll elect me on April 7. Every Monday we'll have a walk and we'll learn how to walk, and that would be an opportunity to talk with council and share opinions and problems and have transparency in the government. The other thing is to encourage spot parking and high-tech solutions like Uber. People already using Uber. That's an app that you can use on your smartphone, and it's a taxi service pretty much, but what it does, it will eliminate additional cars on the road. And there's also a valet on a spot, which will have valet places in different areas of the city where they can pick up your car and then deliver it to another spot where you will be. So there are high-tech solutions and low-tech solutions.
Thank you very much. The next question is directed to Mr. Yasayan. Do you believe that changes are needed to reduce the cost and complexity of obtaining permitting for improvements to existing family residences? Please explain what kinds of changes you think can be made to ease the burden on homeowners. Mr. Yasayan, your 2-minute response, please.
Thanks. There are burdens to getting some changes to homes, and I hear it all the time. And sometimes the burdens are for legitimate reasons because we want to make sure, the change happening on homes is something that complies within the neighborhood and fits within the context. But sometimes it's a confusing process for someone to get a permit. And I've been on the Planning Commission and I've dealt with cases where people have tried to add a closet space or some small 100-square-foot addition, and they've had to go through a number of hearings and come to the Planning Commission to get it approved. So there are a lot of unnecessary burdens, and my plan would be to have a centralized location, a centralized person for permits, so when someone does have to get something done, they can work on all of their things that they need through one person, and they don't have to be directed to many different departments, which adds confusion and adds more complexity. So I'm support simplifying the rule and the process so it's easy for people to understand, and having a website that can provide really good information on what is needed and what is done. And in a way where we still support the kinds of homes that we want, and we protect the character of the neighborhoods as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Garpetian. The Army Corps of Engineers has created a plan for redevelopment of the Los Angeles River, including the portion within or adjoining the Glendale Narrows. Do you support or oppose this plan? And please explain your answer. Mr. Garpetian, your 2-minute response, please.
Great. I do support the plan. I hope we have the budget for it. I was on the Parks and Recreation Commission when the first phase of that project was approved and completed, and we went through, I was part of the grand opening of it, and the bridge is going to be the major issue connecting the two together over the freeway. But I'm in support of it because it will create a walk, a bike, and pedestrian-friendly environment. But on the other hand, I hope we can raise the money for it, or we have the budget for it. If it's budgeted for, I'm all for it. But that's the third phase of that project, and we went through the first one. The second one is in place, but the third one, I'm for it again, but we need to have money for it. If you don't have the funds for it, I don't know how we're going to get it done.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Fuentes. The precise plan of design has traditionally been used in our overlay zones, but now it's being introduced in single-family zones. Do you think this is appropriate? Why or why not? Ms. Fuentes, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. The precise plan design, others may see it as spot zoning, and others may see it as some kind of long-range or short-range planning development. I think based on the process and procedures they have gone through some of these PPD developments, it went through the staff and then through the Planning Commission and sometimes all the way through the City Council for approval. And then the developer making sure that all the rules and regulations and the requirements imposed for the precise design follow everything that's been imposed, then I think it is acceptable and it will be manageable. But the thing is, a lot of the community residents are seeing it as intrusion into the single-family zone, and they are not really aware of what's happening. What's needed is a little bit education on the city side so that the residents are willing and able and are understanding what's happening within their neighborhood. They see this as development, and any other kind of development to them is just an intrusion. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Weaver. Like many other communities, there's been very low turnout in our elections in Glendale. What additional things do you think the City of Glendale should be doing to increase voter turnout in our elections? Do you think consolidating with state or national elections should be part of those efforts? Mr. Weaver, your 2-minute response, please.
That's a $64 question. I don't think anybody has been able to figure that one out. City of LA just changed over when they're having their elections. But naturally, when you have the general election, you get a bigger turnout. But when Los Angeles can only turn out a 10% voter, at least Glendale has been over 20% voter turnout. How do you increase? I don't know. Every flyer I put out, I've said, please vote. You can vote absentee ballot. It's so easy. Every registered voter gets a sample ballot on the back. Tear off the form, mail it in. How much effort is there? It's like anything else. You can lead a person, a horse to water, you can't make them drink. If you tell people to vote, well, they're probably not going to. When I'm out collecting my petition signatures, a lot of people say, not interested. They wouldn't even sign the petition, not even interested. So with 196,000 people, you have 80-some thousand registered to vote, and then of those, only 20,000. How are you going to get them to vote? I haven't the foggiest idea. But if we did like, I think it's Australia, they fine you for not voting. Now there's a good source of revenue, and I think people would find a way to vote. Right now, they don't take the effort. Well, I got to go to work. I got the kids. Too late. There is no mechanism that I know of when the city is trying like crazy to get the word out to vote, when I'm sure all my colleagues are doing the same thing, trying to get people out to vote, and people ignore. As long as they have the necessities of life, water, good streets, electricity, they got the basics, I don't need
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Devine. How would you encourage companies to move to Glendale? What type of incentives would you offer? Ms. Devine, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. I think in order to get companies to come to Glendale, we have to make it the process easy for them. I think we have to decrease red tape that they may have to go through. I think we have to have a concierge service, kind of a streamline, so that they can come to the city and get their permits easily and start their businesses. I think there are some really creative ways of attracting businesses to our community. I think one of them would be a tenant improvement loan. That would be something like if a small business wanted to come to the city and they wanted to kind of renovate the space, the city might make them a loan for renovation, and then they would pay, once the business was up and running and successful, then they could pay the city back. Another way would be to, and this would kind of go along with sometimes our business areas like Spar Heights or Montrose want certain businesses in their little neighborhoods, and so it's difficult to attract sometimes. So what we could do is, when there comes a vacancy, the city could go in and lease that vacancy, and then when sublet it to a small business, and then once they get up and running and are successful, they can also pay the city back. So there are incentives that we can use to get businesses here. Right now, we have a very terrific department that it takes for large businesses and large industries. They take the representatives around to all of the spaces and try to match them up with exactly, in office buildings, exactly the space that they need, so that they can find a place that suits their company. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, there's an open round where each candidate can take up to 2 minutes to address any of the forum questions not previously addressed to him or her. Mr. Usayan, your 2-minute response, please.
Sorry, so 2 minutes to this question?
This is an open round where you may take up to 2 minutes to address any of the forum questions not previously addressed to you. Mm-hmm. So you have 2 minutes, please.
Okay, so you mentioned the LA River revitalization plan, and I support that, and I think it's an exciting opportunity. It's happening right next to Glendale. It's not actually within the Glendale boundaries. So it's technically an LA project, but Glendale would have a huge stake in it and would benefit from it, because it would add an incredible amount of open space and parks right along the border of South Glendale, which lacks open space and parks. And most of the funding would come from LA, and half of it would come from the federal government, because it is an Army Corps project. And it's recommended to do most of the restoration along the Glendale border. Glendale does have a portion of it that borders it, which is the Glendale Narrows Walk, which is an exciting place. If you guys, no one's been there, you should go there. It's a great place to ride a bike or visit. It's right along the DreamWorks and faces LA River. And there's a proposal that Glendale's doing, which is the bridge, which was mentioned by Mr. Karapetian. And I support that as well, because it would connect to the rest of the river and create an exciting opportunity. So I'm looking forward to it, and as a council member, I look forward to supporting it and making sure that becomes a reality.
Thank you. Mr. Garpetian, your 2-minute response, please.
Yes, thank you. We talked about permits and how do we help homeowners. The permit fees of design review board went up from $500 to $3,500. And every time you return for redesign, you have to pay another $3,500. Permit fees on plan check more than doubled since 2 years ago. It takes forever to get, I don't know, your plumbing plan check done, because all our resources went to all these monstrous, large developments, and average Joes are getting hurt in between. As far as the PPD plan, precise plan design, they have good cases and bad cases. The bad case was 1407 Glen Oaks, which was almost 30% more dense project that was approved by Planning Commission and came to the council and they turned it down. The good one is they're trying to use that for the golf course in Chevy Chase and see how would that come out. As far as voter turnout, we don't have to go register more people. We have 20,000 PAVs, permanent absentee voters in this town, that only half of them vote and return their ballots. They receive the ballots in their home, but they do not vote. They throw it in the trash. We have to encourage them, give them some reason, some excitement to come out and vote. You need to create excitement in the community for them to come out and vote. As far as bringing companies back to the Glendale or bringing to the Glendale, we had a great opportunity that we missed. That's public storage is going up right now on the San Fernando Road and Doran, which is a shame. It's a big blank wall. I don't know what kind of tax money is going to bring to Glendale, but we could have had a dealer, a car dealer that was willing to come in and pay $1.5 million annually on sales tax. And that would have helped our budget in these tough times. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fuentes, your 2-minute response, please.
I'd like to address the developments that's happening within the downtown area. So many housing units in such a short period of time. I'll say we need to stop the development for now. Look around and see what's happening. Congestion, traffic, impacts are gonna spill into the other neighborhoods. And listen. Let's listen to the community, make sure we address their needs and desires, not the needs and desires of the city or the staff, but the community itself. Let's make sure we are listening to them and hearing them out. I also would like to address the attracting businesses within the city. The first thing to do is streamline our process. It's so onerous that anyone or everybody that I talk to are so afraid to come to Glendale. Take a look at the corner of Honolulu Avenue, where Rocky Cola used to be, and the French restaurant that's trying to come in. They've been there vacant for 3 years and 1 year. And when I talked to the property owners, the horror they were telling me is like unbelievable. I'd like to make sure we hold them by the hand, walk them through the process. I've done it for 20 years. I'm sure anybody else within the city can do it to help the community and the business people. So I wanted to make sure we welcome the new, but we also respect the old and existing businesses. Help them to grow and to thrive, and don't help them to fail. So streamlining the process and stopping, looking, and listening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, your 2-minute response, please.
Yeah, I'll touch on 3 different ones. I worked for the Corps of Engineers for over 30 years. The LA River was my project. I did the maintenance on the river, and I also quite familiar with hydraulics and hydrology of the river. I'm one that says, based on my experience and knowledge, water does not make a bend easily. I don't believe that the project is going to work there. Just the water does not turn bends. And you're talking water moving at over 32 feet a second and 62.5 pounds per cubic foot. That river there that can handle 50, 60,000 cubic feet a second. I've stood on the banks and watched and bouncing up and down as that river is roared down there. So I can't see where that will work. The one-stop, we're gradually moving towards a one-stop permitting. That's what we need in the city. I think Pasadena has it, but the way we're moving slowly but surely, we'll get to that point where we have one-stop shop. Third, about the economics, bringing businesses in. When the redevelopment agency was eliminated by Governor Brown, we eventually developed the Economic Development Corporation. They go out and they have provided business services, business attractions, marketing, workshop development, whatever. They have been successful in doing that. We're seeing it work. Class A vacancy rate has dropped from 24% down to 13% in 2 years. Sales tax is up 7%. Unemployment rate has dropped from 7% in 90 down to 2%, or down to from 7 to 9% in 2 years. And entertainment clusters are being developed all over the city. There's over 65.
Thank you. Ms. Devine, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to address the transportation problem and the parking issues. I've been suggesting more transit in downtown Metro and the B line. I've also suggested a shuttle in downtown so that we can use a Park Once program or project, so that if we want to park, if the city collaborates with office buildings and we have shared parking, whereas after 5 o'clock when all the businesses employees have gone home, we can use that parking for visitors to our community. If we have a shuttle in downtown, they can get on the shuttle and then ride into the Americana, the Galleria, the Bloomingdale's, wherever they want to go. So that could mitigate some of the parking problems and transportation as well. As far as stopping the building in our city, we can't stop it. If you own property and you want to develop it, we can't stop you. What we can do is we can slow it down and we can control it. And we've already started to do that. City Council has raised the impact fees on developers, and we just passed I just approved the reduction or the elimination of incentives. And this will also be market driven, because if these developments, these apartments that we are seeing downtown are not absorbed, are not rented, then there will be no more development. So it is market-driven. It will completely regulate itself. And the last part is on the PPD, the Precise Plan of Design, on the Glen Oaks project. I think City Council has a responsibility to look at these PPD projects and make sure that there aren't 13 variances, and it is compatible with the neighborhoods. And that's exactly what we had on the Glen Oaks project. It was 13 variances and incompatible, and we turned it down. And that's our responsibility.
Thank you. Ms. Bogosian, your 2-minute response, please.
I want to touch on 2 subjects. One is attracting new businesses to Glendale and voter turnout. I completely agree with Mr. Weaver. If we make it mandatory, as research shows in Australia, Malta, and some other countries, if it's mandatory, people are going to show up. And those countries, they have a very high voter turnout. But what we can actually do right now is to start education in a high school level, because research, again, shows if you start educating children early on, for example, my daughter is here, so hopefully, when the education starts early on, people are going to participate in voting. The likelihood of participating in voting is much higher. So we can do it right now. So all the teachers who are present, you can talk about voting in your classes. And the other thing is about attracting new businesses. There are several ways we can offer incubators in the buildings that city owns for high-tech industries, because a lot of high-tech startups, they don't need a lot of space. They just need a laptop, currently even an iPad, and a chair to sit on, and that's all. But they generate millions of dollars in income, and that would be a great way for our city to generate revenue. The other way would be to offer incentives for clean companies such as Tesla. We have all these car dealerships on Brand Boulevard. Why don't we invite Tesla by giving them incentive to be here? That will add to clean air in our city, and we will be known as a city that offers those incentives. The other thing would be just a marketing perspective, marketing our city during trade shows, in industry trade shows, that people will actually have awareness. I talk with people outside of our city. A lot of them, they don't even know, but when they come and they see our city, they fall in love with it. They think it's absolutely beautiful and great.
The candidates will now have 2 minutes each for their closing statements. Ms. Devine, your closing statement, please.
I'm first again?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum. You know, all the candidates want the same thing, but what makes me different? Well, I've been on City Council now for 7 months, and I have a track record of keeping my promises. The candidates can tell you what they want to do or what they will do, but I can tell you what I have done on my short term on City Council. I promise to promote pedestrian and cycling safety by advocating for crosswalks, continental crosswalks, wide crosswalks, and you're seeing them now on Glendale Avenue and Kenyatta Boulevard. I promised that I would oppose the water rate increase, and I voted no on that. I promised to protect the integrity of our neighborhoods, historic neighborhoods. I voted no on the demolition of a contributor home in the Brockmont Historic District. And I promised to advocate for responsible development. I voted no on the Glen Oaks project. I approved the reduction and elimination of incentives on future development. Promises made, promises kept. My vision for the future of our city: a robust economy, safe streets for pedestrians and cyclists, more housing, both affordable and home ownership, preservation of our historic districts and, of course, our hillsides, and a transit system that both reduces traffic congestion and connects our city north, south, east, and west. My endorsements, I'm proud to say, are Senator Carol Liu, Assemblyman Mike Gatto, the Glendale Teachers Association, and the Armenian National Committee. I promise to continue to listen to all of you and to be your voice on City Council, shall you choose to re-elect me. So on April 7th, please, I ask that you make your vote divine, number 1 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bogosian, your closing statement, please.
I'm a minority within a minority during these elections. I'm an Armenian-American woman in Glendale who's running for the city council, but I hope this election is not about majorities or minorities, but about the truth. And the truth is that our city needs to increase its revenue to solve many current and pending problems, and that's where I come in. Being a problem solver and a visionary, I will do everything to help our city to prosper and overcome its challenges. Vote for me. I'm number 2 on the ballot and on April 7, and enjoy the benefits that I will bring to the city.
Thank you. Mr. Usayan, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here once again. You know, in the last city election, we had 20,000 people vote in a city of 200,000 people. That, to me, tells me that we have a disconnect. That on one hand, we have this growing, diverse, and dynamic population, but on the other hand, we have a diminishing interest in civic engagement. And I think it's wrong, because on a local level, the decisions we make have the most impact on our quality of life. So it should matter. And I know everyone here, is going to go out and vote because you've taken the time to come here and learn about the issues. You obviously care, and the people watching as well. And what I ask is exactly what the League of Women's Voters asks people to do, to go out and talk to your family, friends, and neighbors, and get them engaged as part of this process, because we have to grow this interest from not just with each other, but the interest with the common bond that we all share with this community and the city. Recently, my grandfather would have turned 100 years old. And he was a proud Glendale resident who took pride in his yearly volunteer duties as a poll worker where he lived and near the Ross Moines area. And he was an example for me of what it meant to have a voice in civic government. And I urge all of us to be that kind of voice for everyone else. So I'm really happy to be here. I hope I have your support on April 7. I'm number 3 on the ballot. I do also have some endorsements I'd like to share. Senator Carol Liu has endorsed me, Assemblymember Mike Gatto, Councilmember Ara Najarian, and the Glendale Historical Society, Greg Grammer, President Greg Grammer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Garpetian, your closing statement, please.
Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. I've enjoyed every moment of my public service tenure, but I'm not here to tell you what I've done. I'm here to tell you what I'm going to do. And I'd like everyone to hear me loud and clear. 1, putting a pause on current fast-paced, irresponsible developments and provide ownership housing instead of apartment units to attract young families to Glendale as well. Glendale has been a family town for over 100 years. I intend to keep it that way. 2, no more utility rate increases and no more transfers in excess of what charter allows. 3, as far as our budget goes, we cannot do business as usual. We need to spend within our means, address and resolve the issues of ever-increasing pension liabilities. 4, preserve and protect our neighborhoods by formation of more historic districts in our city. This is one of the best ways to keep our city's heritage alive. Last but not least, no districting. Term limits is what we really need. I would like to emphasize that I do not belong or work for any special interest group or corporation. I have not accepted any campaign contributions from outside special interest groups, and therefore I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm honored to have received endorsements from Assemblyman Mike Gatto, Councilmember Aaron Najarian, City Treasurer Rafi Manukian, GUSD Education Board members Christine Walters and Nairine Ahabedian, GCC Board of Trustee members Anita Quinones, Glendale Teachers Association, Glendale ANCA, ARCA, and ARC, and many more. Glendale is my home, and I'm blessed to live, work, and raise my family here. With your help, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and move forward to brighter and better Glendale. I'm number 4 on your ballot. I hope I can earn one of your votes.
Ms. Fuentes, your closing statement, please.
Thank you again for having us here tonight. Glendale has many challenges ahead, and Glendale faces considerable financial issues. We must strike a balance between preserving our quality of life and operating within our means. Some of the things I'd like to focus and work with all of you are public safety, keeping Glendale one of the safest cities in the country, fiscal responsibility. I will say it again, we cannot spend more than the revenues we bring in. No more debts, no more borrowing, no more transferring, and no more utility rate increase. Infrastructure, maintaining and upgrading our facilities. Small businesses, streamlining the process, and helping businesses to succeed and grow, not fail. Preserving our neighborhoods by saying no to irresponsible development and yes to smart growth that are consistent with the community's desires and needs. I am the only candidate that's coming from within. I was there, I know the system, I worked within the system, and I know where the challenges are. I will fight to bring a balanced approach that focuses on preserving our quality of life. Remember, what matters to you is important to me, and what's important to you matters to me. On April 7, Glendale voters, please come out and vote. Edith Fuentes, number 6 on your ballots. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Weaver, your closing statement, please.
Well, I continue to believe my experience and knowledge is paramount. As I've said, I know more about how the city works, and I know more about the city itself than anybody alive. I have voted on thousands of issues in the last 18 years, thousands of them. I hope people will look and judge me on my body of work that has benefited this city, not picking out one issue and said, well, he voted against that issue and I don't like him, I won't vote for him. We get those kind of letters. I've got them. If you don't vote for it, I'm not going to vote for you. You have to stand up and do what you think is right for the community. That's what I have always done. I stand for 3 things, and I've said it, the sample ballot and the others. Fiscal responsibility embedded in the charter. Second, infrastructure, security and safety, which is fire and police. And 3, which is infrastructure, which gives you the roads, the streets, the lights, all of that. If you have those 3 things, you can exist in the city. Everything else that comes up is an issue, and issues come and go. They're like blimps on the curve. I don't know what the issue is going to be 2 months from now, but we all deal with it when it comes up. 90% of the people in this city said they like it's a great city to live in. So why rush to change things? I've looked at so many different things and I can't understand that. We have so many things to be grateful for. The mountains, three hospitals, good school system, fire and police rated top notch. They're their best. And my endorsements are the people that over the 18 years have cared enough to vote me into office. So I hope that you'll vote for Lucky 7 on your ballot. That's me.
Thank you.
But Weaver.
Thank you. That concludes the City Council portion of the candidates forum. We'd like to thank the candidates in participating in this forum. A vital part of our democratic process is the willingness of individuals to offer their services to represent our community. We thank all of the candidates for running in this election. We will now take a short intermission and resume with our candidate forum for the Glendale Board of Education. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back to the second part of the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. We will now question the candidates for the Glendale Board of Education. The audience here tonight is invited to submit written questions for the candidates. Please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question, and one of the monitors will provide you with a card and pencil. Questions will be collected only during the opening statements and the first question. We'd like to request that the audience turn off all cell phones and pagers, and that they refrain from applauding or otherwise disrupting the forum. If a candidate's supporters are disruptive during another candidate's remarks, the other candidate will be given additional time to compensate for the interruption. Attacks of a personal nature, including private matters having no bearing on a candidate's public persona or ability to perform the duties of the office in a competent, ethical manner, will not be tolerated. If a candidate makes a personal attack during his remarks, the time required for me to interrupt the candidate and remind him or her of the rule will be taken from his or her own speaking time. I'd like to begin by introducing the candidates for the Glendale Board of Education. They are in ballot order: Kevin Cordova Brookie, Todd Hunt, Vahik Saturian, Nairi Nahabedian, Jennifer Freeman. Each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for an opening statement. There will then be a total of 10 questions. The initial question will be addressed to all of the candidates at the forum, beginning with candidate number 1. Although this is not our standard process, in light of the importance of this question, and to ensure that all the candidates have sufficient time to consider their response, we have provided the question to all the candidates in advance. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to respond to it. Following this initial question, there will then be 9 more questions, each question addressed to a separate candidate, beginning with candidate number 2. None of these questions have been provided to any of the candidates prior to the forum. For each question, the particular candidate will be allowed up to 2 minutes to respond to his or her question. Following these questions, there will be an open round, where each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to address any of the forum questions not previously addressed to him or her. Following the question period, the candidates will be given 2 minutes each for a closing statement. During these responses, our timekeepers will alert candidates to the time remaining with signs of 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then a stop sign when they are out of time. We will now begin with opening statements. Mr. Cordova Brookie, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Rita. I've been a PTA leader for almost a decade now, and through that experience, I've seen and heard firsthand what concerns our school community. GUSD is a large and diverse school district, and I want to make sure that every voice is heard, no matter what your race is, your socioeconomic background, what the makeup of your family is, or where you live in our school district. Currently, I serve as the Vice President of the Glendale Council PTA and oversee education and and programs. I'm on the board of the Glendale Education Foundation, as well as the Local Control Accountability Plan Committee. I will make sure that our school board stays accountable, and I'll make sure that they stay transparent. And I want to make sure that we are communicating effectively on all of our issues to our stakeholders. I have a passion for making sure that our students receive the best education so that they have a successful future. And as your school board member, I will work every day to make sure that we keep our students first.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, your opening statement, please.
Yes, thank you, Rita. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight. It's great to be here. It's great to be able to share our views on the school board. I believe every student in the district, no matter where they live, no matter where they come from, deserves a great education. And to make sure that we have a great education, we need to focus on their future. So we need to make sure that our students graduate from Glendale Unified with the skills and the knowledge that they need to compete and thrive in the 21st century. To do that, we need to make sure that we keep our class sizes as small as possible. We need to make sure we have safe and secure schools for our teachers and our students. And we need to really expand career and tech ed opportunities throughout the district. That is going to be very important going forward as these students look to their future. So I am doing this to make sure that our students have a great future. And I look forward to serving on the board and making sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Saturian, your opening statement, please. Sir, your mic is not on.
Oh, this is the one. I have a son who is currently a student and a daughter who is a teacher in Glendale Unified School District. I'm very invested in all aspects of education. Due to my professional background being a CPA for 30 years, I will focus on solving the budget challenges by working with teachers, staff, parents, and community leaders to bring about solutions. I have been a board member of Glendale Educational Foundation of Glendale Unified School District, GF Summer School Inc. of Glendale Unified School District. I'm currently a member of the Measure S Superintendent's Facility Advisory Committee. I'm the president of the D&M Educational Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing... Thank you.
Ms. Nahabedian, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, everyone. As your representative on the Board of Education, I have been a forceful advocate for making schools safer, keeping class size small, excellence in teaching, and protecting each child's opportunity to learn and to achieve. In these tough economic times, we have worked together with parents, teachers, and the community to seek constructive solutions. And together we have succeeded in avoiding teacher layoffs, reducing bullying, protecting arts and career tech, while keeping a focus on providing a first-class education. We have much to be grateful for in Glendale schools: awards and honors, great business and community support, and terrific PTAs. Yet there is much more to do. Now more than ever, we need a strong and experienced advocate for our children. It would be my honor to continue serving as your Board of Education member, bringing my experience and keeping a balance between competing interests. Together, we can do better.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Freeman, and I am running for the GUSD School Board because I'm a passionate believer in the power of public education to create a better society. As a parent of 3 young children moving through GUSD schools, I'm highly invested in the success of this district. As a fully credentialed teacher with several years of experience teaching at both Toll Middle School and Hoover High School, and with a master's degree in education, I understand the challenges inside the classroom. As a community volunteer, I understand the hopes and concerns of our neighborhoods about our schools. I look forward to bringing my expertise in education and my experiences as a teacher and a parent and a volunteer to our school board in order to help with our transition to the Common Core, to create stronger lines of communication for parents in the community, and to support excellent teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the question period. Question 1. This first question is directed to all of the candidates. Measure E would eliminate the requirement that school board members be elected on an at-large basis and require the school board to select an appropriate election method. Do you support Measure E? And if it is approved, what structure of school board election would you support as a member of the board? Please explain. Mr. Cordova-Brookie, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. I think that with such a large, diverse district as GUSD, it's important that we make sure that, as I continue to say over and over, that we make sure that every voice is heard. I think that districts will help increase the ethnic and socioeconomic and geographic diversity on the board, and will only make the board more effective. Unfortunately, I live in an area where that will not be on the ballot. Where I live in the unincorporated area of the city, so I won't get a voice in that. If it passes, it will be vital for the school board to be very transparent about how they will move forward and make sure that they keep all their stakeholders informed. Having members elected by the entire district is something I would favor, but members would need to be reside in their trustee areas where they live in particular.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, your 2-minute response, please.
All right, thank you. I will be voting yes on Measure E. I think that allowing the school district to have the freedom that they need to decide which is the best approach to hold the elections, to have the board members elected, I think that's a great thing. It's important that we understand how this is going to play out. If the voters approve this in April, it's going to take a very serious discussion to figure out how to draw the boundaries. The presumption is that this will go to district and to go to boundaries. That needs to be an incredibly transparent and inclusive process. We need to make sure that every group throughout the city is involved in the discussion from beginning to end, and that the stakeholders understand the direction that we're trying to take this in. You know, Kevin speaks to living up in unincorporated La Crescenta, and I think, to me, whatever ultimate decision is made, whether it's 5 districts or 7 districts, I think that the decision needs to go back to the voters, so that the voters up in unincorporated La Crescenta will have a voice in approving the plan that the school board comes up with. I think that's very important. And I also think it's important that, and it could be difficult, I'd love to see that we'd be able to create districts that still are tied to the high school clusters. I think that's going to be crucial, so that you know that the person that is going to be representing you is from the area in which your children go to school. There's going to be some complications in making that happen relative to the legislation and the way the law is set up, but that would be the goal for me, to make sure that we make that happen.
Thank you. Mr. Saturian, your 2-minute response, please.
My position is that I would vote no to this measure. I think that what we have right now, at large way of getting our board members, are the one that should be continued. For over years, maybe 100 years, we had this system going, and I never heard that there was any problem the way that our system works. We have a board that they are elected from all over, and they are the best qualified and quality people that I think that the people of Glendale selected them, elected them, and I think they did a good job. I believe that our students deserve a quality education, and that quality education we need to come up from quality people, quality teachers, quality board members. If the people of Glendale, they want to elect, they have all the chance to look around and see who is the most qualified one. So if you have districts, you might have some districts that on the other district, there will be more qualified people, more quality people, and just because you can't elect them because the other board member has to come from another side, then I would think that that's the disservice to our school district. The other thing is that we have one city, and all of us are living in that city equally. We never had any problem. When we're talking about diverse community that we have, I never felt that we have a diverse community. We are all in the same city. We are all live together. Different group of people, they live together. And I think that with election, which will cover the whole city, that would be much better. And it will cost less. It will cost less to have what we have. With district kind of system, I'm sure that it will create more cost.
Thank you. Ms. Nabedian, your 2-minute response, please.
So I support Measure E. Ultimately, though, it is going to be up to the voters on April 7th. The fact is that our electeds do come from a very narrow area of the school district and also of the city. That's the truth. So there's benefit in having those who represent us come and be representative of all of the area of the unified school district. However, we must never forget that every board member is responsible for every school and every student in our district, no matter if it's the southern part of Glendale or up in the foothills. And the other piece that's important for us to consider is that the unincorporated areas right now are not going to be able to participate in the Measure E vote. However, if we separate ourselves, if we separate the district from the city, then the unincorporated areas in the future will be able to fully participate in future electoral decisions. And I would also like to add that I fully support putting the boundaries ultimately up to a vote by the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. So one of the things that I've noticed with our district is, again, our board members do a very good job of rotating that responsibility throughout the entire district. One of the things that they do in order to make sure that all of our districts are covered is every board member takes a set of schools for which they are particularly responsible for each year, and that responsibility rotates. Thus, the entire district is well represented. Having said that, I will be voting yes on Measure E because it is about voice. It is about making sure that the entire community is able to engage in this discussion. As it is, only the city of Glendale can vote on this measure. If we vote yes on this, then that allows us to open up that discussion with the entire district and make sure that every voice in there is heard. So once that measure passes, I would like to see us have a citizens commission that would be responsible for actually bringing a recommendation to our board from which we could then proceed. And that commission would, by necessity, need to entail members and representatives from every aspect and every area of our district. So that's pretty much where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Hunt.
And if anyone has questions to turn in for the candidates, now.
Please describe your view of the appropriate role of a board member in the management of the school district as compared to the roles of the superintendent, principals, staff, etc. Mr. Hunt, your 2-minute response, please.
The board member's role is to set policy for the district. The superintendent's role is to execute that policy. Obviously, the principals and the staff and the teachers are the ones who are in the trenches working with our students and educating them. So it's important to understand that this is about leadership and this is about vision. We need to make sure that we have board members who are leaders, certainly leaders in the community, who have a demonstrated experience. Certainly I am president of Glendale Kiwanis right now. I was president of the Glendale Homeowners Coordinating Council. I have experience running organizations, and I think that's key. And I also think that we need to have vision, and certainly I have a vision for our district. We need to make sure that our students have what they need when they graduate, because this is about their future. And That vision and that leadership goes into making policy. And then again, it's up to the superintendent to carry out that policy throughout the district. So there's definitely a difference between the roles, and I fully understand that. I think people need to understand how this all works. You know, getting back to vision, I think that there's a vision out there in terms of how this, how there's balance, and we need balance on the board, and we need to make sure that there are not outside influences that may impact some of the policy decisions that are made, and we need independent voices on the board, and that's certainly what I'm going to bring.
Thank you. Mr. Satur, the next question is directed to Mr. Saturian. Are there additional things the school board should be doing to support teachers and students in implementing the Common Core standards? What specific problems do you believe currently exist which need to be addressed? Mr. Saturian, your 2-minute response, please.
Yes, Common Core, it's a kind of revolutionary approach that it's been started in our district. The way I understand it, it's something new. We never had any experience before. Even the way that the district is handling this Common Core concept is first to educate teachers. I mean, if we don't have teachers that they are prepared to address this Common Core, so obviously we're not going to get anywhere. So I think they are doing the right thing right now to educating our teachers, whoever it's involved in the education process of our district. Now, the main issue that I see that the whole idea is about our students. We have to prepare our students to be ready for 21st century. That's not something that is going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen just easy. So I'm sure that there must be more attention, there must be more funds to be allocated for implementation of the Common Core. The Common Core is not an easy stuff, and I think that our teachers deserve it to get all the trainings, all the help that they can get in order to be able to address this Common Core issue on a class level. And our students, they deserve a quality education. And that's something that we have to think that whatever it takes for the board members, superintendents, and we as people, we have to help in order to get this Common Core in real practice. And I think it's going to take a long time, but we have to be all supportive of our board members and also our district in order to get this thing done, because all of us we owe it to our children and our students.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Nahabedian. What is your position on reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, known as the ESEA? Please explain your opinion. Ms. Nahabedian, your 2-minute response, please.
You know, that's a very good question. And the local school districts have continuously been bombarded by state and federal regulations and state and federal laws. And we do what we can in order to be able to manage those mandates, and sometimes those mandates come without dollars. Now, Common Core is something that we are having to definitely deal with, and it is something that we are preparing for, and thoughtful implementation is absolutely necessary. And it is important to have standards. Standards across the U.S., standards across California. And so what I would say is that as we are managing the standards that are put before us on the elementary level, what we are doing in Glendale Unified School District, and what we have been doing so far, is to prepare our teachers. Professional development has been key in order to prepare our teachers to teach the students in the best way possible. So, for example, we have learning leaders that we have established, and those learning leaders right now come together from the schools, and they get together so that they can plan the curriculum that's necessary, and they go back to their teachers, get feedback on the curriculum, and come back and be able to revise that curriculum, get feedback, evaluate it, assess it, so that it could be the best that it can be. The fact is, at the end of the day, the most important thing that seems to help is smaller class sizes. Smaller class sizes for teachers is the best way for teachers to be able to differentiate between different learning styles and different learning needs.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Freeman. Some Glendale graduates go directly to four-year colleges, while others do not. Do you believe that our high schools should be providing more vocational and/or technical training to our students? Please explain. Ms. Freeman, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. I believe that our graduates, our high school graduates, should leave our system having choices and being prepared for whatever path lies ahead. Right now, we do have a series of vocational and technical education programs in our district, but they are site by site and they are not part of an overall comprehensive plan. I would like to see us as a district put together a stronger plan for our vocational and career education. At the same time, we're also looking at a wide disparity in our high school graduates amongst the entire district in their A through G requirement preparation. When we hit Glendale and Hoover High School, there's only about 30% or so of our graduates that have completed those requirements, which even make them eligible for UC admission, much less actual competitiveness to be able to be accepted, where when we go up to Clark and CV, that number now is up over 50%. So I'd like to see us at the same time strengthen those A through G requirements and support so that we have more kids graduating with those requirements done. So then when our high schoolers graduate, they are able to have those choices so that they are not behind. They're not trying to figure out, what do I do now because I'm not prepared. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Cordova-Brookie. Please explain what factors and in what priority you believe the Glendale School District should consider in evaluating its teachers' performance. Mr. Cordova-Brookie, your 2-minute response, please.
That's a very good question. I think that our teachers are working extremely hard. We need to be making sure that we are giving them all the tools that they need to be able to do their job effectively in the classroom each and every day. We are bringing our kids and dropping them off at the schools and entrusting them into their care each and every day. When I hear a student say, or even my own child say, that the teacher hasn't been effective in the classroom or something like that, it makes me wonder sometimes about the evaluation process that our district goes through. I do know that GUSD has a very effective policy right now that they oversee in evaluating their teachers. But I think that there needs to be a more strenuous evaluation of them so that we make sure that those teachers are there in the classroom, are teaching our kids effectively, and they're doing their job that they went to school to do, that they should be having the passion to do. And we should be communicating back to the stakeholders exactly their performances in the classrooms and exactly how they're being evaluated altogether.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Hunt. How do you believe that the negotiations between the Glendale and La Cañada School Board over the sagebrush area should be resolved? Please explain. Mr. Hunt, your 2-minute response, please.
All right. So in a perfect world, I would love to see Glendale retain sagebrush. That would be the perfect way for that to happen. However, I really feel like the genie is now out of the bottle. And so we need to make sure that both sides go through a negotiation to come up with the best possible solution for both districts. Now, certainly we are Glendale, and we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to get the best deal we can throughout this process. It's got to be based on transparency. It's got to be based on mutual respect between the boards, and we have to talk. We have to communicate and listen to each other and understand the needs that each district has. And outside of that, I mean, there's obviously the communications that go on between the board members, between the staff members of each district, and then the larger discussion is how this impacts our community. And that, again, that we're making sure that all those discussions are getting out into the community, that they're open, that they're transparent, so that people, certainly people up in the CV area, and I'm up in the CV area, my kids went to CV, many friends who went to Mountain Avenue. We've got to make sure that they understand how this is all being played out. And then certainly the last and most important piece in the negotiation for me is the park on Ocean View. And that park is 100,000% off the table. That park, if I'm involved in the negotiations as a board member, that park will stay in Glendale, guaranteed, no question at all.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Saturian. If the Glendale School District is able to receive additional discretionary financial resources, how should the school board prioritize the use of these additional funds? Mr. Saturian, your 2-minute response, please.
I love to see more enrichment programs in Glendale Unified School District. That's something that I love to see. And I know that there are some projects like that, mainly the one that I know is Clark Magnet, that my son goes there. And it's very helpful. Very helpful because our students can get a chance to sit down with their teachers and go over all those concepts, all those stuff that they couldn't understand it or they couldn't follow it up. So I think enrichment classes all over in our schools will be the best thing. The other thing that I would like to see, and that is the taking care of our retirees. And by reading some of the materials that I've read, I understand that there were some funds that was put aside by the school district for over years, that some funds were being put in that as a reserve, so that when the teachers or staff, when they retire, they could be safe to have all the benefits that they must have during the time that they cannot afford some of those expenditures, just like the health insurance, some of the costs that is related to teachers or people that they need to take care of themselves. And that funding was stopped at some point about 2 years ago, and I still don't understand why the funding of those accounts were stopped. And I would see if there is a fund which we don't need for some other purposes, that would be put aside also to take care of our retirees, especially when they are in ages that they need the most.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Mrs. Nahabedian. Parents must fundraise to meet some basic classroom needs. Given the differences among various Glendale neighborhoods, there are issues about equity among the schools. How should the school board address this situation? Please explain. Ms. Nahabedian, your 2-minute response, please.
That is a fantastic question because we do have foundations at certain schools that the parents do a fantastic job of raising a lot of money for the school, and it's fantastic that they do that, and they're able to support half-a-time librarian, for example, and they're able to purchase certain things. And we have other schools where the parents are less able to do that, and so we do have those issues. So one of the things that happens is that we have what's called Title I schools, and it turns out that the Title I schools are usually the places where there's an offset between what the foundations are doing. For example, Verdugo Woodlands is an awesome example of what the foundation does there. And also our PTAs do a lot. So our PTAs do balance things out at our school districts. And also I would say that The other very important thing is that we have certain organizations and foundations that work across the district. For example, Glendale Education Foundation and the PTA. So they don't just raise dollars for certain schools, they raise dollars across the school district. So coming to Glendale Education Foundation as an example, when they raise dollars, hundreds of thousands for elementary musical instruments, every school in the district was able to benefit from that. And so those are the kinds of things that we have to do between Title I funding for low socioeconomic schools and between Glendale Education Foundation, PTAs. Those dollars seems to balance out so that we're able to meet every student's and every school's needs. And when you walk through all the schools, you will see that they are well taken care of wherever they are in our unified school district.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Ms. Freeman. How do you see the relationship between the Glendale Teachers Association and the Board of Education? How can that relationship be strengthened? Ms. Freeman, your 2-minute response, please.
So between the Glendale Teachers Association and our district, you have a group of professionals on both sides that are passionate about public education and want to see the best for the students in this district. And then from there, what I think needs to be done is to really help both sides understand that they are more on the same page than they think they are often. We have had periods, especially in periods of very tight budgets, when relationships get very contentious. It's just a high-stress situation all around. We're finding we're back into a period where things are moving in a more positive direction. I think the key for those relationships is for both sides to come to the table and come to each other with mutual respect and understanding that everybody in the room is there for public education, there to make sure that students get the best education possible, and that the rest really does become a matter of details and priorities, and that can be worked out as long as everybody's there with their professionalism, their professional hats on, and willing to work together.
Thank you. At this time, there's an open round where each candidate can take up to 2 minutes to address any of the forum questions not previously addressed to him or her. Mr. Saturian, your 2-minute response, please.
Any of the question that was raised?
Any question that wasn't addressed to you before?
I think one of the things that I just want to follow up on what Ms. Freeman said about the relationship between teachers and the school board. I believe that teachers are assets of our school district. Without them, we can't do anything. And we have the best teachers, and I think we all have to think about their well-beings. The school district, they have another job to do. The school district, they have to set the policies, they have to hand it over to our superintendent, and they are the ones that they have to run the whole thing. The Board of Education, in my opinion, must stay independent of any other organizations. One thing that I like to see is that right now we have the representative or somebody who is connected to teachers union, and that will bring up all the voice and all the concerns and all these questions that teachers might have. My concern is that if in future, if we get more influence from the teachers union, and this is the union that the school districts, almost 80% of their budget is allocated to teachers union. I think at that point, what I'm concerned is that that independent policy-making process might be kind of in danger. So that I think that probably we have to be more careful about keeping our school board, the policymakers of the school, independent of any outside influences. And I think that's something that I like to be addressed also with us and see everybody's opinion about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Nahabedian, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. I will respond to the question about what are some things in the future I would like to do if I had those discretionary dollars? It's a wonderful question for me because in my tenure on the board, we have spent too much time making painful reductions in our budget. So I look forward to restoring some of that as the budget starts to improve in California and for GUSD. Particularly, summer school is something that I've been advocating for at board meetings for a while now. Expanding summer school, restoring it to what it was before several years ago and before our severe budget crisis. And what we did at the very last Board of Education is to start doing just that, to start expanding the availability of summer school, the remedial summer school, to more students than we did last year. So that is a great direction that we're moving into. And I've said this and I continue to advocate that summer school must expand even more and it must be restored to what it was before in Glendale Unified, when it was free and public for everyone who needed it, whether or not it was remedial, whether or not you needed to take it, or you were taking it to catch up, or you were taking it because you wanted to get ahead, you wanted to learn, you wished to learn that summer. Because the fact is that research has clearly demonstrated the importance of continuing to learn over the summer and how well that works for retention, for learning, and for long-term achievement. So I would want to restore summer school and most of all to better the ratio of teachers and students in the classroom, whether or not that's smaller class sizes or adding teachers' aides so that our kids can get what they need in the classroom each and every day.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, your 2-minute response, please.
Thank you. I wanted to start with Common Core a little bit, just because I have a lot of thoughts on that one. One of the things that I actually really like the Common Core, just as a teacher and just as how I have taught in the classroom, in that it really challenges teachers and students to think more critically about the material that's in front of them. I'm seeing this in action at my own home when my kids are being asked tough questions, which is, I love seeing them struggle with. One of the pieces that often gets thrown up on every Facebook post or social media post out there are the ridiculous math questions. What I'm seeing, and has seen across several grade levels now, is the difference between the math that we learned and the math that's being asked now is that after you do that problem, you're being asked to explain how you got that answer. You're being asked to actually understand the math, not just do the math. And that is a definite shift in how we've taught the math. And I think in this district, we've done an excellent job of preparing teachers to move into that type of critical thinking and that type of curriculum. It's something many of them have wanted to do for some time and are now feeling the freedom to go back into that really deep level of thinking with their students. Where we're having a lot of issues is when we get into the assessment pieces of it and preparing the kids for those computerized tests. Our infrastructure isn't in place at all schools to be able to handle all the students on the computers at the same time. All the students are still having to learn how to type so that they can be successful on the tests and that sort. So that is really the piece I see that we're having a lot of issues with the Common Core and that there's still much work to be done.
Thank you. Mr. Cordova-Brookie, your 2-minute response, please.
Yeah, yes, I would like to respond to the Sagebrush Territory question. My thought is that we have to think of what's in the best interest of the children and the families. We also have to think of what's in the best interest of GUSD and La Cañada USD as well. And one of the great things about public schools is that you get to go to the schools in your neighborhood, and that neighborhood happens to lie in La Cañada. But the school actually is in the Glendale Unified School District. So I think that the best solution to this would be to have open enrollment on this territory. I mean, if La Cañada is not willing to have that or provide that, then I think that we have to come up with a winning solution that is great for all residents. Is it going to be ideal? No. The districts have continued their talks, which I completely support. we cannot reach a deal with La Cañada that's going to harm GUSD financially and impair its ability to provide the education and services to the remaining students that choose to stay there in GUSD. So I fully support in continuing the communication with LCUSD to make sure that we have a winning solution for everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, your 2-minute response, please.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll probably bounce around here a little bit, but I think there was a talk about parent fundraising and equity. To me, there's a great opportunity. We have great organizations. Glendale Educational Foundation was mentioned. We've got great service clubs in the area. I know for my Kiwanis Club, we do a lot of things throughout the district to help support programs and special projects that the schools need. And I think that that is a well that we need to tap and really interface with the Kiwanians, the Rotarians, the Elks, the Lions, the Tigers, the Bears, any of those groups where we can get that partnership. Because again, this is about our schools. Our schools are a crown jewel of our community, and where we can bring private and public partnerships together to support our schools, to educate our students, I think that's a great thing. And certainly that's something that, as a board member, I'll be able to help facilitate very easily. I think another thing was talking about additional funding. Certainly keeping class sizes small is a high priority. The other thing, and something that hasn't been talked about at all in any of the forums up to this date, is special education. I think that special education needs to have the funding. This is mandated funding that many times those funds don't exist in the budget. And if we had extra dollars to be able to help fund those programs for those students, I think that'd be fantastic. I'm a Special Olympics coach. I'm very involved with these students. We've got a track meet coming up at CV in April, and I'm helping train these students. We've got almost 40 athletes, many of them, most of them, either current Glendale Unified students or young men and women who've graduated out of the FACS program. And that is something special in my heart, and I'd love to see us support them as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. The candidates will now have 2 minutes each for their closing statements. Mr. Cordova-Brookie, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us here this evening. With all the new changes coming into our district, we need someone that can be objective and is always going to keep the best interests of our children and our families at the forefront of all of our decision-making processes. We need someone who's going to look at the big picture and ask tough questions, and I'm that person. I'll improve our district communication, making sure we are transparent and keeping you better informed. I'm not a politician, I'm a parent. And my endorsements don't come from any unions or special organizations, but they come from parents. Parents like one of our current GUSD board member, Sandra Russell, other parents like Lori and Craig Duncan, Cheryl Davis and Beta Matthews, Leslie Dixon, and Suzanne and Ty Mayberry, just to name a few. I would like to be your voice on the Board of Education, and I'd like to count on your voice and your vote. I'm #1 on the ballot. And as your board member, I will listen to you and make sure, and I will work every day to make sure that our kids stay our ultimate priority and to make sure that every voice counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, your closing statement, please.
All right, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this. This was a great evening tonight. My dad started first grade at Balboa 70 years ago this year. My brother and sister and I went all the way through the Glendale schools, graduating from Hoover. I've raised my family here. All 4 of my children have now graduated from Crescenta Valley High School. In my heart, I have a deep passion for this community and for our schools. I love Glendale, I love our schools. And I said before, this is a crown jewel that needs to be protected. As a board member, I feel it's very important to be independent, to be an independent voice so that we represent most important special interest, and that is our students, our families, and our children. And that is who I'm there to support and to give voice to and make sure that, again, our students are getting the best education we can provide for them, because this is about their future. These are our future leaders. These are our future employees throughout our community, that they have a bright future and that we've provided that to them. I feel that's a moral obligation for us to do that for them. And that's what I'm dedicated to bring to the board. I'm very proud and pleased to have the endorsement of Mary Boger, our former board member, and truly her seat is up for election this time. I'm also proud to have the endorsement of Chuck Sambar, again, another former board member and certainly the last board member who truly supported and was connected to CV. And I intend to be that person as a CV dad, but also as a Hoover grad. I know this entire district. I support every child, and I want to make sure they get the best education possible, from Dunsmore in the north to Cerritos in the south, everywhere in between. I'm about making sure that the students succeed. Thank you.
Mr. Saturian, your closing statement, please.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity today to share some of our thoughts with you and the viewers. I'm a parent, very proud parent. My son, Clark Magnet, and I'm a parent, a daughter who was graduated from CV High School, and she went to Rosemont Middle School. And after she got her teaching credential, she came back to Rosemont, and now for years she is a science teacher there. I've been around this district for years, directly last 15 years, where I'm as a president of an organization called DNM Educational Foundation, where we provide after-school program to 16 different elementary schools in city of Glendale. And I've been around our teachers on those schools, which they were kind enough to share their classes with us. I've been around with principals, with the district, with the board members, and we provided a quality program to our students. As a professional, as a CPA, I have a knowledge of, good knowledge of finances, understanding the budget, and that is something that I can share with our district. I've been with Glendale Educational Foundation, GF Summer School, Measure as Superintendent's Facility Advisory Committee for the last 3 years, and I think that I'm qualified and I'm prepared and where I can do a good job on that board. I agree with my colleagues talking about independence of our board, and I really believe in that. And I think that that is a very main and good reason that we have to work towards that. Our district and the board must think about our students, our teachers independently, with no other outside influences. Thank you.
Ms. Naabedian, your closing statement, please.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. As a Glendale High graduate, and I teach at CSULA now for over 14 years, it's really been my pleasure to serve as your representative on the Board of Education. We're moving in the right direction, and yet there is much left to do. Thoughtful Common Core, fair and balanced resolution to the territory transfer question, opportunities for all our students to learn and to succeed. The Board of Education will have new fiscal decisions in the coming years. We are both simultaneously severely underfunded and we are gaining new dollars. So in the coming years, it will be even more crucial to make the right choices. We need a strong and experienced advocate for children in Glendale's Board of Education. We're so proud of so many of our students, like the recent CIF championship for CV High School. Through partnerships with business and the community, we have protected art and music, maintaining instrumental music in our elementary schools. We have national award-winning high school jazz and high school dance programs. We're moving in the right direction. Experience matters. I will continue to advocate for safe schools, smaller class sizes, rigorous and relevant curriculum, and a first-class 21st century education for all our students. I'm honored to have the support of our council members, Laura Friedman, Paula Devine, La Crescenta Mayor Rick Dinger, past Chamber of Commerce presidents like Steve Pierce and Pat Longo, and the Glendale teachers. You have 2 votes for school board on April 7th. I would be honored to have your support and your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, your closing statement, please.
I am a passionate supporter of public education. It is what I believe in and what I do. I am a credentialed teacher. I have been in the classrooms, and I think that is a unique voice that we do not currently have on the school board, and that I bring those qualifications there. There is much to be done on the school board in the next couple of years, and I look forward to being a part of that. As an active community volunteer and a parent, I understand the importance of community involvement in our schools and the need to create those strong community partnerships. It's not always about independence, it's about building community, because we are all here for the same purpose. Every single one of us up here wants to see our students and our children be the best that they can be. And we don't do that in a vacuum. We don't do that independently. We do that as a community. And it is because of my experience and my vision for the community that I do have the support of many folks, including our electeds, Congressman Schiff, Assemblyman Mike Gatto, Councilman Laura Friedman, and CV Town Council Member Harry Leone. And yes, I do have the support of our Glendale teachers and our CSCA employees and the Armenian National Committee. And I believe that that is because I am here to build community. I'm here to share that vision of how we can make our schools the best, and I believe that it takes every single person and every stakeholder to be a part of that process, and I am proud to be a part of that process. So I am the last one on your ballot, number 5, so you'll have to scroll all the way down to find me, but I hope you do. You have 2 votes for school board. I'm Jennifer Freeman. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our candidate forum. We're grateful to Tom Lorenz, Glendale Director of Communications and Community Relations, Christine Powers and Leo Zalian of the City Clerk's Office, and the staff of GTV6 for their valuable support in making this event possible. We'd like to thank the candidates in participating in this forum. A vital part of our democratic process is the willingness of individuals to offer their services to represent our community. And we thank all of the candidates for running in this election. The League of Women Voters of Glendale Burbank would also like to thank both our audience in attendance and those of you at home. Please be sure to mail in or drop off your ballot so that it is postmarked or received by April 7th. Thank you and good night.